Hi everyone, this is Michal from Airhead, and today we'll go through the most recent questions from the topic of instruments and more specifically air data measurements. So please tune in, and I hope this will be a valuable lesson to revise this particular topic and see what is new across all EASA authorities. So let's jump into the first question. You're cruising at a Mach number 070, flight level 390 when suddenly you fly for a cold front and outside air temperature decreases by a couple of degrees. So what will happen to our instrument airspeed and true airspeed? So for these type of questions, remember that examiners will expect you to assume that you are maintaining your cruising speed, in this case the Mach number, constant. So don't forget that Mach number is actually a ratio between the local speed of sound, so the speed of sound that's at the particular level, and the true airspeed. The local speed of sound can be calculated roughly with this simplified equation, which is 39 times the square root of temperature. So if the temperature is dropping slightly because we're flying through a cold front, that means that the local speed of sound will decrease. So in order to keep the Mach number, which is the ratio, constant, that means the true airspeed will also need to decrease slightly. Now, what happens with the instrument airspeed or our IAS or calibrated airspeed? Of course, if you're flying through a colder air, a pocket of colder air, the density will increase slightly. And since IAS is nothing else but a dynamic pressure, this means that IAS will increase in this particular instance. So the correct answer will be IAS is increasing, and the TAS is decreasing. Now going into question number 2 about our airspeed indicator. It includes a capsule, and inside this capsule is. So your airspeed indicator is nothing else than a machine that tries to calculate the dynamic pressure. So like we said before, our airspeed is nothing but a dynamic pressure, meaning what you feel, what our aircraft feels. It's the same as you putting out a hand outside of your car and feeling the pressure when you are speeding up. That's what the dynamic pressure is. However, this doesn't account for the static pressure, so the pressure that is all around us everywhere. So the pressure is pushing from both sides at your hand or at the capsules inside the aircraft. So how do we correct for the static pressure? And how do we get the dynamic pressure reading? So our aircraft actually does not measure dynamic pressure directly. It uses a very simple equation, which is total pressure minus the static, and then we have the dynamic pressure. So the pitot tube, it measures the total pressure of air, and then it takes readings from static ports or to subtract the static pressure from total to give us the readings of dynamic pressure, or simply put, our airspeed. So inside of this capsule, we have a total pressure and an outside static pressure, because the total minus the static, we get dynamic pressure. Also, just as a reminder, there is a very good mnemonic for you to remember for the exams as to what happens when either the total pressure probe or the static pressure gets blocked, and it is patsot. So if the pitot gets blocked, the airspeed indicator will underread in descent, pad, and then if static is blocked, sod will overread in a descent. So if the total pressure gets blocked, then your airspeed indicator will actually pretty much turn into some kind of a version of an altimeter. Now going on into question number 3. Consider a barometric vertical speed indicator with a non-linear scale. What does this mean? So our vertical speed indicators in most of the GA aircraft are actually designed to have a logarithmic scale, and that's what it's called. All it means is that the vertical speed indicator is much more precise and sensitive when you have lower rates of descents or climbs, in order for us to have a better understanding when we are flying straight and level and when we needed these precise numbers to be correct. This is how they are designed, and this is how you'll fly for most of your flight training using these systems. So the nonlinear or logarithmic scale means that the rate of climb or rate of descent is the small rate of climb or rate of descent is displayed more accurately than a large one, and that will be absolutely correct. Also remember that the vertical speed indicators have a very permanent error, which you'll definitely feel and see firsthand during your flying, which is the lag, because it takes measurement from delayed measurement from static air, and then it puts the static air that is at the moment, and then it subtracts both values to see how quickly you're changing altitude. So there is a delay, so don't forget about this one. And in case you have a static air block, then the VSI will gradually return to zero and essentially get stuck or freeze at the zero mark. It will not freeze at whatever vertical speed you had. Now going into question number 4, ATC asks you to expedite climb in departure. Which speed should you use and how is it indicated? So we have here the authors are asking whether we know the difference between Vx, which is the best rate of best angle of climb speed, or Vy, which is the best rate of climb speed. So Vx will get us the most altitude in the shortest distance possible, and this is the best speed to go for when we need to climb over obstacles. Whereas the Vy will give us the most altitude in the shortest amount of time. So if we are asked to expedite a climb, that means the AEC wants us to be as high as quickly as possible, meaning we will use the Vy or the best rate of climb. Now, and I can see how this can be a little confusing, we need to choose between whether this is indicated on an airspeed indicator by the green arc, which is the normal operating speed range, or the blue line, which is the best rate of climb for one single for the single engine or one engine in operative speed for multi-engine aircraft. And here, I personally would go for the blue line, as this is the best the rate of climb speed, and there is not much really discussion about it. Whereas the green arc, it doesn't indicate the best rate of climb speed at all. It only indicates the normal range of speeds. For example, the yellow arc will indicate the speeds above VNO. These are the speeds that you can fly with when there's only smooth air. Of course, the red arc will indicate the speeds above VNE, the never exceed speed, and white arc is your flap operating range for the VFE, and the green arc, of course, ends at your stall speed. This is why I would go for the blue line, as obviously VSEY is the on the blue line. However, I can see how this can be slightly confusing. So this is one of these questions that's worth remembering and moving on with your studies. So now for question number 5. Which of the following systems can make use of air data computer output data? So there are 3 key outputs of your ADC in your aircraft. Inputs, and these inputs will be your total and static pressure, as well as the angle of attack and your temperature probes or the temperature input from the sensors that measure the TAT. And what is the air data computer output? So there are a lot of outputs. Of course, the air data computer can calculate the TAS, it can calculate the airspeeds and the altitude and many different things. And then it will feed the different systems such as the FADEC or any other system that is concerned, the GPWS, and so on and so on. So from the given answers that we have here, of course, the one that will use our pressure altitude will be a transponder, such as the Mode C transponder, that will send this information and forward it to the ATC for them to have a good understanding of our position, not only vertically, but also not only horizontally, but also vertically. So the CVR is a cockpit voice recorder. This is an independent system. Direct reading magnetic compass. Of course, a compass is neither an input or an output of an ADC. And directional gyros. Neither are the inputs or outputs of our ADC, meaning the transponder, and specifically mode Charlie or Sierra, will take data from our altimeter or from the pressure altitude readings. And lastly, going into question number 6, so the equivalent airspeed is equal to. So I'm sure you know that we have 4 key airspeeds, which is the instrument airspeed, and then if you correct instrument airspeed for instrument errors and position, we have the calibrated airspeed corrected for compressibility is the equivalent airspeed, And the equivalent airspeed corrected for density is the true airspeed, which is our actual speed for the air. And then, of course, as you go on, if you correct the TAS for the wind, we get our ground speed, so the speed that we're actually moving through over the ground. So equivalent airspeed will be TAS corrected for compressibility. And the mnemonic to remember this is ICT is played cool drink. So ICET. So you've got the instrument error, position error, compressibility error, and lastly, density error. So thank you very much for today. I hope you enjoyed it and found it valuable, and I hope to see you in the next video. Have a fantastic day, and bye-bye.